Hello, this is Chas with Heirloom Leaves and Seeds, and today I wanted to talk about some of my favorite flowers that I grew for cut flowers last year. Now, this was my favorite video I did last year, and it's just talking about the flowers that I love to grow. So let's get started, and these are in no particular order. The first one on my list is Perennial phlox. They were so amazing, and I just loved the beautiful pastel colors, and they almost reminded me, there was one color in particular that reminded me of the annual Isabellina phlox. Now, I know sometimes people struggle with the annual phlox because they're hard to grow. Well, they're not really hard to germinate and they're not really hard to grow, but it's hard to get a long stem length. And that's why I love these so much. It was a complete shock that they just were putting out stems all season long. And I love that that one really reminded me of Isabellina phlox. Now, if there was a cherry caramel, that would be awesome. These guys really surprised me, and I used stems all year long, and they didn't get really, really long, but usable stems in some of my shorter bouquets. So just really love those, and I am starting more from that same pack this year just because I liked them so much. The next one, number 2 on my list, is Foxglove. I just love Foxglove. They come in so many different colors and they just remind me of a beautiful cottage garden. And there's something that's whimsical and just beautiful about them. And anytime I put them in a bouquet, they're just gorgeous. And I just love to grow them just as a plant in my garden as well. I think they're probably one of the most beautiful plants that there is for a gardener to have in their garden. Number 3 on my list is apple mint. Now, for some reason, apple mint was very elusive to me. I could not find it anywhere. None of the nurseries I went to had them, no garden centers had them. I actually forget how I did get them. I think just by chance a garden center had them, and I'm like, and last year I was really trying hard to find this mint, and I just could not find it. And so when I did finally find it, I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I was going to order off of Etsy just some rooted cuttings, and that would take so much longer to start than having just the plants. But oh, I really liked them. They got nice and tall. I felt like they were not as prone to wilting as the Moroccan mint that I grow. So I really like the apple mint, and I like the fuzzy stems, and I feel like the leaves are bigger overall, so that fills up a bouquet a little bit more. And it just smells so beautiful. Loved apple mint last year. Okay, apple mint was number 3. Number 4 on my list was Yarrow. Now, Yarrow is really great because they have some nice straight stems and they come in just a nice selection of colors. I have grown summer berries, I think a Colorado mix, and I've done several others. I think one was called the Pearl, and just all of them do so well, and there hasn't been any that I haven't liked yet. So every year I try to start some yarrow, and it holds up in bouquets well, and it's just a very beautiful plant to grow in your garden. And I know that I will probably never be without yarrow. It's just so pretty, and here in Tennessee we're zone 7B, and it comes back every year for us. I believe it's a short-lived perennial, so it's probably not going to last, 7 years, but it will probably last for 2 or 3. Number 5 on my list is zinnias, and anybody who has watched my channel for very long knows how much I love these flowers. Zinnias are easy to grow, and I love how they attract pollinators. And then another thing about zinnias is that you can get them in such a wide range of variety. There's just, you can get nice big focal sized zinnias like Benares Giant, and then you have a lot of mid range ones that can range in colors from a dusty red to a bright fluorescent pink or ivory. And there's just so many different options. And you can even get little tiny zinnias. So it's such a big just range in sizes, shapes, and colors. And there's cactus zinnias. I think that there is a zinnia for everybody's taste, you know? It just depends on what you like. Love those very much. I still think some of the Queen series is probably my all-time favorite, and of course the Zinderella series. Those are so pretty, and you can also get the similar effect with the Cresto Cupcakes series. Now, I am growing those this year for the first time, so I will be excited to see how those compare to the Zinderella series. I just really love that Scabiosa type, fluffy Zinderella type zinnia. I think they're my all-time favorites. Number 6 on my list is Feverfew. Now, I really love these. They remind me of chamomile a little bit, and I just love the dainty little daisy-like flowers. And the ones that I grow, they tend to grow up like this and then they spread out. And so in a bouquet, that forms, you strip the stems and you have this kind of vase-like spread of flowers, and it might have, 20 flowers in that grouping. And I love that because one, they're just pretty in the garden, and two, when you put them in a bouquet, it fills it up and it gives it a different, they're the flowers themselves are probably like that size, and just a bunch of those in a bouquet, it gives it a nice little bit of different. I'm not explaining this well. It gives it just a nice little different texture to a bouquet. So that's why I like those, and it fills it up, and they're just really, really a cute flower. And in the Feverfew, there's all different types. There's ones that look more like daisies and ones that look like buttons almost, and they just have different looks to them, and it's hard to not like any of them. I've grown several and I like them all. Next on the list is sunflowers, and it's hard to go wrong with sunflowers. I know that some people aren't crazy about them, and to me, the people that don't like sunflowers is probably because they see these big oversized yellow orange sunflower petals, and those are, which I still think they're pretty, but just that standard sunflower, the big heads might make them a little unusable if you wanted to bring them inside. There's so many different colors you can get. You can get sunflowers with ivory petals or a light raspberry red petals, and you can get orange, you can get small ones, you can get frilly ones like I think it's called gummy bear, you can get dwarf ones. There's just so many different varieties. So if you're tired of that same old typical sunflower, there's just so many different ones that you can choose from. And I think sunflowers are the ultimate cheerful flower. So even just putting one small one into a bouquet, it just makes them a little bit more cheery, and they always catch your eye. So I like sunflowers for that reason. And then a new one that I used last year was Feathertop grass. Now, this was new and I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I really did like this grass. And the the finished size at the end of the year was probably like this big for each one. And the grass went like this, but the feather top, I guess, I don't know what you'd call it, the flower, it was about this big and it would kind of arch a little bit. And it just added a nice whimsical touch to bouquets, something light, something airy. And as a plant itself, I was really shocked at the nice full size that it got in just one growing season. And it provided me with cuts all year long. And I almost wonder if it might come back. I'm going to cut it back in later spring and see if any new growth comes up. But I am going to start more of these guys from seed too, because they were very nice and I took lots and lots of cuts. And this would also make just a really good landscape plant. And you can buy a pack for, just a couple dollars. So even if they don't come back in your area, it makes a nice grass for even landscaping or just around your property. All right, and then I have two left. So the next one is Daucus. And last year I've grown several varieties of these and I tried Purple Kisses and they gave me some of the coolest, lacy, unique flowers that I've ever seen in the Daucus series. Because I had Dara, and I love that one because it had some white, it had some pink, and then it had some of that purple to it. But this one was more the deeper color and one like the deeper purple colors. And I couldn't get any more Dara seeds last year, so I got the Purple Kisses and I was kind of like, ugh, that's not what I wanted. But let me tell you, these were a surprise. And some of the petals, and I'll put one up here, some of the petals had just that really deep dark purple and it had white on it too. And they were beautiful. And some of them, I just was like, my goodness, how could this get any more beautiful? So I was really, really happy with those. The only bad thing about those is if you use them in a bouquet, all those tiny petals, as they age, they can drop their petals. I don't know, I still am on the fence because I think it's one of the most beautiful flowers and it does make a good cut flower as long as you don't mind those petals dropping. And they're very tiny, so you can just scoop them up. And that's usually towards the end of their life anyways. I just don't think you can get a more beautiful flower than those Purple Kisses. So to me, I don't mind, but I can see how customers may not like that. So this year, I think I'm going to put some in some bouquets and some not in some bouquets. That way a customer has a choice. So I'll try not to put them in every single bouquet I have. I just can't stop growing them because the plants get so nice and tall and they put out tons of flowers, and I don't think I would ever not have this in my garden. So beautiful. And last on my list is seed grown dahlias. Now, I've told the story before. I got some free seeds in a book I got from Floret, and I wasn't really excited about growing them, and I was shocked when I first grew them, like I sowed them and they popped up real fast and I'm like, that's interesting. And then I felt bad because they kind of got pushed aside and they were in their little seed cell or the cells way longer than they should have been. And when I finally got around to transplanting them, I popped them out and they were already forming tubers in the cell trays. And so then I felt bad and I'm like, hey, these little dahlia seeds are trying to survive. Get them in the ground and start taking better care of them. So I went ahead and planted them in the garden and I was so shocked. They made beautiful dahlias and it was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had in the garden because you just didn't know what was going to come up. And my original story was I was far away from the garden and I was like, what is that yellow flower that was blooming? And I'm like, I did not buy a yellow dahlia. And then I was like, oh, it's the seed grown dahlias. And so that was so much fun last year. And I still have some seeds from Florette left over. So I'm going to plant probably all of them this year because that was so much fun. And it was so exciting to see what came up. And they were all beautiful. The ones that came up, there was not one that I was like, ugh, what an ugly flower, which why would you say that anyways? But they were all beautiful in their own way. And I'm saving all those seeds just because, or all the tubers, because it was so much fun and I loved every single one that came up. So I am really excited to go ahead and do this again this year. Definitely fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes up this year. Now, just in case you're curious, I've done another video last year of what was my favorite flowers to grow in 2023. So I thought I would just tell you the ones that stayed the same. You should definitely go look at that video because, every year it changes a little bit. The ones that stayed the same was the Daucus, the sunflowers, and the zinnias. And the rest on that list, I obviously still like them. I'm going everything still on that list. But these are the ones that just really stuck out last year. They were the ones that was fun. They provided a lot of interest. They were beautiful. They looked great in the bouquets. Whatever the reason, these are the ones that stood out to me. You're always experimenting in the garden. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I'm not sure why. But like last year, 3 were new to me, and it was the perennial phlox, the apple mint, the feathertop grass, and the seed grown dahlias. So those were all new. They did great for me, so I had to add them to my list. I hope you guys found this video interesting, and I would love to hear what your favorite flowers were that you grew last year, because it's always neat to hear what others like to grow. They may or may not work for you, my list, and you may think, oh, why is that her favorite? But everybody's taste is different and they have different growing conditions. I think I said it earlier, but we are in Tennessee and we are in zone 7B, and these did really great for me last year, and I look forward to growing them again this year. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Oh, and I think one of my next videos, it may not be the very next one, but in the next couple videos, I'm going to do a video on things that I'm not growing in the garden this year. So those are always fun too. Well, I will see you guys later. Bye.